welcome to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today's video, I'm going to be playing with the What's Up Beauty Dragon Eye palette. I am so excited for this palette. I bought it right when it launched and I'm finally getting around to trying it. So in today's video, I'll be doing 3 looks with this palette, just doing a first impression, trying out the formula, making sure it's the same formula as the 2 other What's Up Beauty palettes that I love. So if that sounds good to you, if you like eyeshadow palette videos, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I would love it if you stick around. But with all that, I'm going to zoom you in and we're just going to get started with look number 1. All right, so I am going to do 1 look on each eye for the first and second look, and then I'll do the 3rd look on both eyes and finish up with that one. But let me just show you the palette first, as well as my swatches. So this is what the outer component looks like. It is beautiful. I love all the iridescence on it. I love that this is raised. I think it's definitely a step up from her last 2 palettes. So I do really appreciate that. And then this is what the inside of the palette looks like. So I'm going to throw up my swatch photo right now, but this does retail for $45 US, which is on par with the other 2 palettes that she has in her collection. And it is a shimmer heavy palette. So it has 5 mattes, 7 shimmers in this palette. And you know, the inside of this palette is a little bit more purple themed if you look at the coloring, but I think a lot of people when they were sneak peeking this palette was expecting, including myself, just a little bit more green. The only green you have in here is this shimmer here, which is Scales. So, you know, I don't think that the inside matches the outside quite as much as I would want. However, I'm torn because this I feel like is a very just well-versed everyday palette that I'll get a lot of use out of. So I'm just gonna see how it works. I am especially excited for this Magic shade. This was my favorite when I swatched it out. And then these mattes do pull a little bit more on the purple side. I mean, this is a purple. This looks like a brown, but it definitely has like plum undertones to it. And then we have like some peachy. So I think I'm definitely gonna use the green. There's too many shimmers, I think, for me to use in all 3 looks. I'm definitely going to use Fly as an inner corner probably. And I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm thinking right now. Let's just start with the first look. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to do Scales, I think, as my shimmer for the first look. And I don't know what mattes yet. I think the mattes are probably going to be a little bit repetitive in this video, but that's okay. I do prefer a shimmer heavy palette, so I'm not upset with these mattes whatsoever. I think they're all good staple mattes. Just again, like not necessarily on par with the theme of Dragon Eye, but you know, these shimmers, I kind of want to let them just stand on their own. That can always be the trouble with filming my looks because I want to do something maybe a little bit outside the box, but sometimes, you know, simple is best. So I'm going to take Creature, which is more of a mid-tone, warm, pinky, kind of deserty shade. And I'm going to put that all over the lid just as a base. And I'm going to take it up as high as I need to. Now I do always prime my eyes with the Nars Soft Matte Concealer, and I set that down with my face powder, just in case you're curious, because I don't like too much of a tacky primer. Now I am gonna try and just use most of my What's Up Beauty brushes. I might go into some others as well, but I will try to like stick with these. I think that if you're interested in the What's Up Beauty brushes, they are fantastic brushes. They're a curse and a blessing in the fact that they have very short handles, which I love. I love that they have short handles, but they kind of get lost in my brush holder because they're shorter than some of my other brushes. So that's like the only con, but it's not a con because I do prefer them to have shorter handles. I'm gonna also just take the same shade on the lower lash line. And then just for a little bit of outer dimension, I'm gonna take Smoke. I'm just using the same brush Not too much because the shimmer is gonna cover that, but I do want a little bit more definition and not just using one matte. Put down my NYX glitter primer. Just since I already have my base done, I want to try and negate any kind of fallout I might get. And then of course, all the makeup that I'm wearing is listed down in the description box below. And I'm just gonna take my finger for the shimmer. It definitely has a little bit more blue to it than green. Fierce is more of like, I would say, a true green. These two mixed together would be really pretty. I'm just gonna go in with Scales because I think that that's like the biggest standout shade in the palette. And it definitely is. This shade has to be a multi-chrome because I can see it shift from blue to purple. Maybe I'll take, well, Fierce or Fire. Here's Fierce, here's Fire. I'm gonna take Fire on the inner corner. I was going to use Fly, but I'll use that for a different look. I'm just gonna perfect the shimmer on my lid and make sure I have it placed where I want after using my finger. Going back in with Smoke, just kind of define that. It's really pretty. And then taking Fire and putting that on the inner corner. Something I've just discovered about myself is I feel like it just looks too messy when I try to fit 2 or 3 shimmers on the lid. I feel like it gets lost, so I kind of just stopped doing that, although I like to try multiple shimmers just to see how they work. My eyes just unfortunately are too small for that. Annette's Makeup Corner can always get away with like 3 shimmers. I cannot, and that's okay. All right, that didn't turn like too green yellow in my inner corner. That's what I was worried about using that shade, but it does have a fairly translucent base. I mean, I really built it up there. So happy with this first look. I think we're off to a good start because this multi-chrome definitely just blows the other 2 palettes out of the water. I don't think off the top of my head that they have multi-chromes, but I could be wrong. My memory's not great. I'll look at the end of this video. But here is look number 1. Super simple, easy. Let's get started with look number 2. I think I want to use Myth and this matte more since I used this one. So maybe I'll use this, Fly this time as the inner corner, and then that way, like these purples we save for look number 3. That sounds like a plan. Be very similar technique. I just use a switch to take the color off my brush. And I'm gonna put that kind of all over, but concentrate the color where my crease is, and then just diffuse it out. I'm gonna take just a teeny tiny bit of Smoke, deepen out the outer corner, and add it to my lower lash line like I did with Breath. Just to add a little bit more dimension. And these mattes are just, they're so easy to work with. I don't consider myself like a highly skilled eyeshadow person, and I'm finding it very easy to blend these together without having them become one color. Like you can see the distinction between the two. And sometimes I can get a little bit carried away with my blending and they kind of just turn into one color. Adding the glitter primer, and maybe this time I'll use a brush just to see how it works with one. I know a lot of people like to use brushes rather than fingers. Make sure that's tacky. And then I'm gonna go in with this kind of flat shader brush and go into Myth. Yeah, see, I just don't know if it's gonna pick up what I want it to pick up. Well, kind of. Not really. It's just, it's faster with my finger. That's really what this comes down to, is laziness. And it's gonna be a lot more opaque. This goes from like a pink to a gold. I didn't see the shifts as much in my swatches, but I'm seeing them much more on the eye, which is usually the opposite. It's very interesting. Like the shift is very strong on my eyes, and that's surprising. I don't know if this is a multi-chrome, like I'm really just seeing a pink to gold. I'd have to look at the description, but it is very clear. And then I am gonna just perfect kind of like the top part here. Make sure it's rounded, kind of like how I prefer, so my eyes look a little bit more open, just like that. And then going to go in with Fly for my inner corner. A really pretty shimmer. I don't know why I'm a sucker for these kinds of shades. I could have like 10 million of them and be happy, even though a lot of the times like these iridescent shimmers are easy to dupe. And it goes with this myth perfectly because it has like a gold undertone, so it really makes that gold in the flip stand out a little bit more. Just gonna kind of bring it up into that. And I do think I'm gonna just add a little bit more smoke to the outer corner, just to re-intensify that. Here's what look number 2 is looking like. I am in love with this look. I'm a little bit sad to take it off. Before I do that though, I'm gonna add liner. I think I'll just tight line with black on this side and then probably brown on this side to keep it a little bit softer. Add mascara, and I'll be back to show you the final 2 looks. Here they are, fully complete. So like I said, I did tight line look number 1 with black, and this is what it's looking like. I love the shift on this. It's definitely brighter. It definitely stands out more. And then look number 2, I actually used my Charlotte Tilbury liner in Pillow Talk. I usually stick with brown or black, so that's why I'm mentioning it, because this kind of is more of like a reddy brown. And this is what look number 2 is looking like. I did just open a new tube of mascara, so it's a little bit clumpy. Ignore that. I'm gonna be taking this off in a second anyways, so I wasn't gonna fuss with it, but I am very much enjoying look number 2. Like I said, I kind of don't want to take this off. Look number 3 better beat out look number 2, or I'm gonna be disappointed. I should probably add a lip, but we'll do that for look number 3, I think, and have it be done. But so far, I think this is my favorite What's Up Beauty palette out of the 3. Let's just get on with look number 3 though, and keep testing this out. So for look number 3, I already said I want to play with the purples. So kind of like this L shape right here. We're gonna try 2 shimmers on the lid, see how it works out. But I'm just gonna use this same brush because it's been working out for me. So starting with Spikes, and this is a little bit of a darker matte. So this one, I'm gonna start at the bottom. Just kind of test this out because I don't want the crease to be too dark. And slowly bring it up. Just to kind of get the color that I'm looking for. I can't say this enough, but these mattes just work so well for me. Before going in with the deepening outer corner shade, I'm just going to add the same matte Spikes to the lower lash line here, both sides. And that way I can use the same brush for the darker shade. Right, so going into Powerful, which is more of like a true plum purple shade. very lightly gonna deepen up the outer corner. I'm sorry if you hear the dogs barking. If you don't know, I live on a farm and they're doing their farm duties, which is protecting the animals. So sometimes they bark. Add it to the lower lash line as well, just a little bit. Of course, I'm gonna lay down my NYX glitter primer. Really make those shimmers pop. And then I'm thinking, since I'm gonna try to use 2 shimmers on my eye, I think I'm gonna try and make Magic more of the star. So I'm gonna put this on like 2/3 and this just, what is this, Monster on the outer third. So let's first start with Monster, because this is like a very opaque purple and it's gonna brighten up that outer corner more and not have this. This is leaning like a little bit dark and smoky just for my preferences for daytime. So this will hopefully kind of brighten it up. And then I'll go in with Magic and add that to like 2/3 of the lid. I love that shade so much. This is definitely my favorite shade in the palette. However, purple is my favorite color, so that should be no surprise. Just kind of make sure blending those two. Add a little bit more of Monster. And then I do still want to add Fly to the inner corner just for a little bit more sparkle. Not too much, since this has more of like a yellow undertone to it. Add some lightness to the inner corners. All 3 of these looks took me no time at all, 6 minutes tops. I mean, for look number 3, and that's both eyes. I do really like this look. I'm thinking look number 2 is still my favorite because it had that flip. This Magic and Monster shade, while both beautiful, and like I said, Magic's my favorite shade, they definitely don't have that flip to them. They're more of a traditional shimmer. But let me figure out what kind of liner I want to use, add some mascara, and I'll be back to show you the final look. So I ended up just using a brown liner and just kind of putting it on the corners because I really liked how bright this was and I didn't want to close off my eyes. But here is the third and final look. I do really like this. I love purples. I love the tones of these. I think that this is a really pretty look, but I don't think that it beats out number 2. That's just my preference. But those are all 3 looks with the Dragon Eye palette. I think I'm gonna scoot you out now. We're gonna kind of show the 3 palettes compared side by side, and I'm gonna go over my first impression thoughts. All right, I was so excited to show you the third look that I forgot to put on lipstick, but I've corrected that now. And let's just talk about this palette here. I love everything about this palette. I think that the mattes are easy to blend. I think the shimmers pack a punch. You can sheer them out if you wanted to. If you didn't use a NYX glitter primer, then you could really kind of make it a little bit more translucent. But this is a beginner-friendly indie brand, and that's what I like about it. I would recommend this to my sister, to my best friend who isn't really into makeup as much, if they were asking for something that was maybe neutral but out of their comfort zone. I think this would give that to them, and I have nothing bad to say about this. This palette works exceptionally well, and a lot of the looks that I did, I mean, like I said, this look took me 7 minutes tops, which for me, that's quick. So I really like this. I like how impactful the looks are, but while still being simple. So I would definitely, like, if you're thinking about getting this palette, get it. The only thing, you know, a lot of people have mentioned, and I definitely agree, the outside packaging doesn't match the inside. It could have really done with a green matte or something, but I think if you added the green matte, the color story wouldn't look as cohesive. So it's a little tough to say because this is like a green to blue to purple flip, and you have the purples here, you have the purples here. So it definitely is cohesive. Just, I was wanting something like a little bit more dragon themed. I do want to just compare it to the two other What's Up Beauty palettes that I have. I purchased both of these at the same time, 40% off. I do recommend signing up for their newsletter because they do 30% off, 40% off their website quite often, and that's when I picked these up. I did a video comparing both of these since I picked them up at the exact same time, and I do prefer the Desert Monsoon over the Geodes, but that's more just color story. I find the formula to be the same across the board. So let me just see if I can somehow hold all three of these up so you can kind of get a feeling on what all three of these look like. Okay, so you have Desert Monsoon on top, Dragon Eye in the middle, and Geodes on the bottom. Now, I don't think they're dupable. I do think they are different enough if you're a neutral lover like myself. Like, I do see enough differences to justify having all three. However, like if you love color, these might be a little too similar for you. And my only just, I guess, constructive criticism towards the brand is I do think that they're going to have to take it a little bit, just a step up in terms of their color story, because their color stories are starting to run all together. Like, you can definitely tell what the brand likes and what they lean towards. Luckily, it's what I like, it's what I lean towards. But if they want to expand their customer base, I do think they're going to have to go outside the box just a little bit. Now, I will say I'm seeing improvements because the Dragon Eye does have duochromes in it. You have scales, you have myth. So they're taking it up a step with their shimmer formula, whereas the other two, I don't think it has as many duochromes, multichromes, etc. Like you have, I'm trying to show you both here. You have Earth-like right here. That's a little bit of a duochrome, but I can see some improvement in the shimmers is what I'm saying. I love that the palette is shimmer heavy. I prefer a shimmer heavy palette. I think the mattes go very well with the shimmers, so no complaints there. And overall, this is now, I think, my favorite What's Up Beauty palette from them. So I'm excited to see what they do in the future. But like I said, if you haven't purchased any of these yet and you're wanting to, sign up for their newsletter to get 30 or 40% off. That's how I also got these brushes, which I might pick up more. I really do like these brushes. I mean, I essentially used this one brush. This is the R108 for all three looks and just took the pigment off. So these are really great brushes. I will probably pick up more eventually. Love the short handles on them. Just like I said, sometimes they get lost in my sea of brushes, and I don't even consider myself someone who has a lot of brushes. That's my only con if you want to see both sides of the coin. But I want to keep this pretty short and sweet. I think it's pretty obvious how much I really enjoyed playing with this palette. Look number 2 was my favorite. I've said that multiple times now, but I would love to hear which look was your favorite, whether it was look 1 or look 3. I mean, look 3 is a close second, but having the duochrome in look 2 really pushed it over the top for me. I'm going to use this palette so much. I can tell this might be one of my favorite palettes for 2024 because I am limiting myself on how many palettes I am going to purchase this year. So since it's diminuing quite drastically, this is like a good contender. I'm excited to keep playing with this one. I might take this even traveling with me because I think it's just a great special little palette. It's neutral, but it has special shimmers in it. This was 100% worth the money. But let me know all your thoughts down below. Have you tried What's Up Beauty yet? Is it on your list to try? I will also really quickly just mention their international shipping because some people don't live in the US and their international shipping was really great. It's one of the less expensive international shipping charges that I've had, and everything was packaged really great. Of course, you're still gonna pay customs, but I did find that their shipping rate wasn't exorbitant like some other indie brands. So if that's what holds you back from purchasing from indie, if you don't live in the US, What's Up Beauty does great international shipping. And those are all my thoughts. So let me know yours down below, thoughts on the brand, thoughts on my eye looks, etc. This is where I'm gonna leave you all though. I hope you're having a great one, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.